We often learn that resilience is our best course of action, that it's weak to turn back, to change course, to do something new. But of course, we all also know that having the courage to end something can be the wisest action we can take. So today I'd like to explore what can get in our way of ending something and what can help us find the courage to take the next step. Because, of course, for something to begin, something must end. And when something ends, something else begins. Welcome to the Henny Flynn podcast, the podcast that's all about deepening our self-awareness with profound self-compassion. I'm Henny. I write, coach and speak about how exploring our inner world can transform how we experience our outer world, all founded on a bedrock of self-love. Settle in and listen and see where the episode takes you. So resilience is an essential life skill. But resilience that turns into narrow thinking, there can be no other way than this, for example, may not ultimately serve us, especially if we're in a situation where choices are available to us. The most accepted wisdom shows us that choice is always available in some form or another. We may not like the options that we have, but our ability to effect our own agency is still there, and ignoring that we have some kind of agency is what can leave us stifled and isolated, stuck in a single pattern of behaviour or thought that no longer serves us. And if you're curious about the extent to which we can have our own agency, even in what may feel like the most daunting circumstances, the wonderful book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl is definitely something that's worth reading. And of course, the idea of change can be overwhelming, frightening, daunting. And of course, choosing to be resilient, to plough on through, to not effect that change that part of us might see could serve us, that is also a choice. And as long as we're aware that it is a conscious choice, that we have explored the other options available from that deep, compassionate wisdom that sits within us, and we've identified that this path is the one that serves us best in this moment, then that is all to the good. And there will be many times we've each had to dig deep to get us through a tough experience. And at the end of that time, we've been grateful to the part or parts of us that got us through. And I suspect there will have been times for each of us here where we've doggedly stuck with something, a relationship, a friendship, a job, a way of thinking that ultimately hasn't served us. And where we've looked back and thought, I wish I'd got out earlier, or I wish I'd made that change earlier. And this is, of course, where the courage of endings comes in. And as you may know, in previous episodes in this series, I've been talking about certain phrases that might have accompanied us through our lives. And one of the phrases that can trip us up here is out of the frying pan into the fire. And I am particularly curious, as you know, about how these old phrases inform the way we think, feel, act. And this one is designed to protect us from making sudden shifts that could be worse than what we had before. But of course, if we get stuck in that thinking, will never make any change. Whether it's a job, a hairstyle, a volunteer role, a place in a book club, a relationship, or our time in a house or a community, endings can feel daunting. What if it's worse than what I have now, we think? When perhaps we could ask, what if it's better? So I'm exercising a choice to end something sooner than I might ordinarily do so. I recognise this is a very short episode of the podcast, but it really feels that final question is all that needs to be said here. We don't need to fill the air with more words that aren't really needed. I could ask myself, well, what if ending here is the wrong place? Or I could ask myself, what if ending here is exactly where I'm meant to end? I send you a hug and a wave.